Hello, friends, and welcome in to the All the Spoilers podcast. I'm Ed,
And I'm Israel.
and today we're going to be talking about the 1968 film Night of the Living Dead, directed by George Romero. And the first thing that I want to talk about is that a lot of the stuff in the movie does seem a little bit old-fashioned. And this movie was kind of right on the edge of a big cultural and artistic shift. It was in 68, so we're talking about hippie era, the sexual revolution and all this stuff, people taking a lot of drugs, and music was obviously changing drastically, becoming psychedelic, very experimental. Movies would take a drastic shift from just looking at horror movies. You're looking at something like Hitchcock, which is pretty tame when you go back and actually watch Hitchcock. It's very smart, and the cinematography and the movie making vocabulary of Hitchcock is still used today, but a lot of the stuff seems a little tame compared to Dario Argento, um, Roman Polanski, Lucio Fulci coming in the 70s. And so this movie kind of straddles that. It's not quite the old school thing, but it's also not quite the new school thing. So, starting off, we are just watching.
Well, here, before we start, did you watch it in color or did you watch it in black and white?
I watched it in black and white.
Same. Okay, cool.
And yeah, I did see that there was a colorized version. I didn't have any interest in watching that one because I think the black and white adds a
Yeah,
little something to it.
absolutely. Yeah, it looks great.
But it was done mainly just as a budgetary thing. Like it was not he didn't make a conscious effort to be like, oh, this is going to be creepier or cooler in black and white. But I think it is.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So starting off, we're just watching this car driving up this sort of deserted country road, and the music in this movie is 50-50 for me. It's 50% like dun dun dun, like this corny ass old school kind of style, and then it's 50% like really creepy and cool and ambient. And in this scene, I think we're getting both of those. We're getting
Yeah.
both the sort of like kind of corny like musical stabs, like it's even like jump scare kind of music in certain points of the movie, but we're also getting the really cool creepy ambient stuff as well.
It's almost as if like the with that mix of like old movie, like whatever you want to call it, and then the spooky is so cool because it's like almost as if like with this movie, it's like being a transitional movie of like one of the first like horror, I'm sure there's other horror movies, but like it being like that kind of like first movie, like them like integrating both the music is, I thought that was it was just awesome. I mean, as someone who watched it in 2025 like for the first time,
Mhm.
like I thought that like corny 60s movies, just the music just added like to it, because I'm like, dude, yeah, we're watching it in black and white, the acting is like this, all the costume designs, like, and then that crazy music, like it was just so good.
You
Like,
can almost picture like a black and white like Frankenstein monster coming in when some of
yes.
those dun 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 kind of stabs
Yeah.
happen. Like that's what
Yeah.
it's reminiscent of. And so we're getting both of those that mixture of music as we're driving up the hill. Um, we see the like cemetery ahead sign, which at first I was like, what the fuck is going on with that sign? It almost looks like blood splattered all
Yeah.
over it. But I think it's just been shot, which is even stranger. But I think it's been shot and then rusted over the little dings in the sign. But more ominous shit from seeing that shot up sign. And now we're driving through the cemetery with these two, like, I'm going to call them yuppies. Like, I don't know if that's the right word, but like they're these two like really tight ass brother and sister the dude is wearing like purposely wearing these really thick nerd glasses. Like his whole
He
personality
has
is
like
kind of like that.
pens in his pocket,
He has
like
pens in his pocket to go on a drive. He's talking about like a 200-mile drive, and he's got like multiple pens in his pocket. And then the funniest is his driving gloves. I've never seen a
my
man
gosh,
who wasn't like a
so
professional
great,
NASCAR driver or something like put on driving gloves like that. But
so good.
he's got his
But yeah,
fucking
they're
driving
like
gloves.
they're going to drop off flowers at a cemetery, and
I
the
believe
fact
it's for
that
their father, and
yeah, for
and
their father, like their mother wanted them to do it, but then like but they were like arguing over it or
yeah,
whatever.
they're arguing the whole time that they got to drive all the way out here, and mom just stays at home, doesn't do shit, but they're doing it for her anyways.
Yeah,
So,
every year they do it.
and so they get there, they pull off, and as they get out of the car, the woman gets out first, and then he's doing whatever, and the radio squeals on, and there's a guy talking, and he's like, "Oh, sorry about the outage, blah blah blah," and so apparently the radio had just gone out while they were driving, and it just as he gets out of the car, it comes back on, and but he doesn't think anything of it, and just shuts it off.
He's like, "You got any candy?"
Yeah, he's worried about the fucking Werther's Originals or whatever he wants. But so he gets out of the car, and then he even tells his sister, he's like, "Oh, the radio came back on. So there's nothing wrong with the radio. It must have just been the station." So they go to the grave, they put the little wreath there. He's still bitching, and the sister gets down to pray at the grave, and he's just talking shit. He's like, "Come on with the
Praying for
fucking."
church.
Yeah, he's like, "Come on now with the stupid praying." And
This isn't church. This is a cemetery.
and as he's shit talking his sister, we see in the distance a shambler back there. And of course we know what's going on. I don't maybe the people in 68 weren't quite sure. But we see him, the lightning strikes.
It's cool too because like during this scene, it's clearly like daytime, but they even address it in the movie. They're like, "Hey, it's crazy that it's so light and it's 8 o'clock at night. Like oh, daylight savings time or whatever. Like." But it's just so cool because the shot. It's just such a cool shot because like you could tell that they just filmed this during the day. You know what I mean? But like it's still creepy even though it's like daytime. I don't know if it's just because they're in a cemetery or what, but I did love that like how it was kind of light and all that stuff. Like,
Because then it
like you would
transitions to
think,
night really, really quickly once shit starts popping off.
yeah, which makes sense because it's 8 o'clock. But like it was cool that they like did that and like they could have shot a cemetery scene at night like you would expect any cemetery, but like the one scene where there's a cemetery is during the day, like or like light out or whatever. I just thought that was cool.
Yeah, I think they wanted it to start off so innocently with these two
Yeah,
very, very innocent brother and sister, and doing this nice thing for their father, and then suddenly things go strange. And so the lightning strikes, and then as they're getting up, he remembers a story of when they were kids and they were out here in the cemetery, and he jumped out from behind a tree or something and scared the shit out of her, and she's getting pissed, and he's like, "Oh, you're still scared, aren't you?" And so then he starts fucking with her, and he's just like, "They're coming to get you, Barbara." And it's like seems kind of cheesy, but in reality, it's like 60
yeah,
years ahead of its time. Like
oh yeah,
to be joking about like, "Oh, somebody in, this dude in the cemetery is gonna come get you, this zombie," like joking about zombies when zombies don't even exist. Like, I
yeah,
don't think the word zombie is used in the movie. They start saying ghouls eventually.
yeah.
But so he's fucking with her and doing his little scary voice and trying to
Right after he puts on his driving gloves, though, like
yeah,
right
right.
as they're gonna like
Because
it's
yeah,
almost as
because
if they
he's
were
so
his
tough.
joke gloves that he puts on.
His clown gloves. But then he sees the shambler in the distance, and he's like, "There's one now." and she's just like, "Stop it, Johnny. You're ignorant." And it's really
Yeah,
funny,
the
the
use of
acting.
ignorant was very funny. I thought that was like hilarious.
And so the guy starts coming closer, and they're just being really really natural, like this is how it'd be. And she's like, "Stop, he's gonna hear you." She's worried about offending this man. And as the man gets closer, he's like, he's right there, "I'm getting out of here." And he like jumps out of the scene. And then she's still feeling awkward, as if they're going to offend this man. And so she just kind of puts her head down and puts her hands in her pockets. But the guy comes right towards her and just starts attacking her, just grabs her, is just not biting or anything, but just putting his hands all over her. And Johnny, surprisingly, actually, from the
Yeah,
character that he plays here, he actually jumps right in to save her. And so he's wrestling with the zombie, or we'll call them ghouls or something, because that's what the movie does. So he's
it's interesting
wrestling.
you say that because in the captions that I watched it did say zombie, which I thought was funny because but it doesn't say zombie in the movie, but it said zombie like in the captions.
But so Johnny starts wrestling with them. They both fall over, and Johnny hits his head on a gravestone and knocks himself unconscious. And so now the woman is freaking out, and the zombie is now after her. She takes off running. The zombie runs after her, runs. And I remember when
Yeah,
we were doing 28 Days Later, you were saying, and now, of course, this was not your observation, this is something that you heard, where whatever that was said that in 28 days, that was the first example of running zombies. But as we see in this movie, the very first zombie ever was running.
yeah.
Although this is the only time that a zombie runs in the movie, I think.
They even address it in the movie that they don't run
Yeah.
later,
But this guy, he
which is
runs.
very, very interesting. Yeah,
And
dude, this guy's performance as a zombie, like was one of my favorites. Like he like the movements, like it was just so like he
yeah, because
embodied
he invented it.
that.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, it was so like it was just so great. Like
Nobody told this guy,
definitely,
"Hey, go act like a zombie." Like, he had to come up with this.
yeah, it was awesome. Like, yeah, definitely one of the best like looking.
And so but also I think, and this will play in later, he seems fresh. Like, his face isn't peeling off or anything like that. Like, he seems like he just died at some point. His shirt's a little fucked up, but he isn't decomposing. So maybe that has something to do with why he can run, because he's running and he's chasing her back to the car. She jumps in the car and doesn't have the keys. And she rolls up the windows, locks the doors. The zombie is pounding on the windows, and she's like bracing the window with her arms, trying to keep him back. And another thing, this zombie, now he runs around the car and picks up a rock. And so he's essentially using tools. He picked up a
Yeah,
rock and starts bashing the window, and he bashes it open and reaches in there to get her. And she pulls the e-brake and just starts rolling the car, because Johnny has the keys. She can't start the car. So she's just rolling away and somehow manages to crash the vehicle going like 5 miles an hour.
yeah, like doesn't turn the wheel. I mean, does the wheel turn when the key's not in? Maybe
I
it
guess the
didn't. I don't
power
know.
steering, that's interesting you
But I
brought
mean,
that
is there
up.
power steering in the 60s? Like I
Well, I think when the car is on, because my old truck was an '89, and I remember nowadays steering wheels lock when you
yeah,
park, but that car, the steering wheel did not lock, and I could, if I parked against the curb, I would turn off the car and then crank the wheel to angle the tires against the curb. So, and in doing so, the power steering was not engaged when the car was off. So actually, that's why I wasn't thinking
oh,
about that earlier, because I was just like, what is this bitch driving this car into a fucking tree? She's going 5 miles an hour. But that would have been common knowledge to somebody at that time. But she
yeah,
does drive it into a tree. And so she has to jump out and start running again. she lost her shoes a long time ago. The first run, she had already lost her shoes. And now she's running again. She sees a little farmhouse in the distance and runs to the farmhouse. And there's also a gas pump outside, which comes into play later. But at this point, we're just in the house, and she doesn't know what to do. She's pretty worthless, and she tries the phone lines. Phone lines are dead. She grabs a knife. She actually, if you watch her, she clutches it against her chest and like touches it. She's like, her hand like almost
Yeah.
squeezes the blade, but then she's like, oh wait, I'm not supposed to squeeze the blade because it was probably, I'm sure it was a fake knife. But in that scene where she's feeling those emotions, that is actually what she does, is squeeze the blade of the knife. And she looks outside. She's going through the house. There's another like dramatic musical sting as she just walks into a room with animal head trophies in there
Yeah. Like
and
scaring her.
scares her. And then she looks out the window again, and that zombie is out there. I think there's two more coming at this point too, and he's just out there. He looks like he has. He always looks like he has his chin like stuck to his chest. He's so weird looking, and
Yeah.
just like dancing around. Like the zombies are just like sort of shambling, just dancing out there, looking really funny. Like I was laughing at some of these scenes because it's just, we know, or we think we know, what zombies should look like, but these people were told, their direction was like, look like you're a reanimated corpse, look like you're in a trance, this kind of stuff. And so this is what they did. And I believe she also, before anything else happens, she finds the dead body at the top of the stairs,
Yeah.
um, and it's got its face like completely torn off. It's
Yeah.
it's
That like special effects was just awesome. Just like
it looked pretty good with like the eyeball. It was
yeah.
like a skull,
Yeah.
but like the eyeball was sort of still there, hanging on. And she gets freaked out, and she's gonna run. So she opens the
Yeah.
door to run just as car headlights pull up, and a man gets out of the car. They kind of meet eyes for a second. I assume that they're both like, is this a zombie in front of me? And
Yeah.
they decide no, and so they both get back into the house. And the dude, he's there, he's doing work. Like he's on a mission. He's
Absolutely.
he's like ready to go. And so he's trying to talk to her. What about that gas pump out there? We need to go. What's did you check the phone lines, on and on? But she's like just completely unresponsive. This has just
Yeah,
happened to
she's
her.
catatonic at this point, like
Mhm.
completely just in shock.
Yes, this has just happened to her, and she also, that just seems to be her character. But and the man's name, I don't think they say the man's name for a while.
And
Maybe they do, but yeah, it's Ben. I didn't realize that until later in the movie. But at this point in '68, it would have been pretty uncommon to have your leading male, um, the level-headed leader of the group, essentially the hero of the movie, to
oh yeah.
be a black dude or a brown dude. Like at this time, I mean, off the top of my head, all I can think of is like Sidney Poitier. Of course, it would have been even more uncommon to have a big Aztec warrior looking motherfucker be the leading male in your movie. And I'm still waiting for that. We got Machete, but that doesn't count because it's a mexploitation movie. But this would have been pretty progressive, I think, to just have a black dude as the leading role. And so he shows up and he's ready to do work. Like he wants to get out of there, but he thinks he looks outside and he's like, man, there's too many of them out there now. We need to start boarding stuff up. We need to secure ourselves in here. So he gets right to work, and he's trying to get her. The first like 40 minutes of the movie, after the initial scene of getting to the house, is him doing work and her doing nothing. Her
Yeah,
doing
dude.
jack shit and him just trying to get her to do something. And
And he's
being
just like, just go get some wood. Just go get some wood. She does eventually, but she's just in such a state that she doesn't actually like. She just brings like two pieces of like small,
she goes to get
Kindle
wood.
or
Yeah.
whatever.
It's like she brings like 3 sticks and they're like 5 or 6 inches long. You're not gonna board up any fucking windows with these. And she just like sets them down and doesn't say anything. And it's like really frustrating watching this woman because not only is she like catatonic and in shock, but she also seems like the kind of dramatic female who is like she's becoming a burden almost on purpose. Like she wants her drama and her suffering to she wants to be acknowledged or something. Like she's getting in the way. He's nailing up the boards and stuff, and she does come over and sort of hold the one end. Like he has an entire door that he lifts up and he's puts it up and he's nailing the door over the door. And she comes up and kind of like sort of holds one side and then they get the nail in and then she goes over here and she's just like in his way and he's even like he's like get the fuck out of here. Like he's like she's just in the way, but he's being real nice to her the whole time.
Yeah. Well, like I think that like with that said, like I feel like that's completely believable as a character for her because like
Mhm.
think about, like women in the 60s, like they didn't have a very prominent, like they're not going to be like, "Oh, let me, grab a hammer and help you." You know what I mean? Like cuz they're just like even the characters later like they kind of address, "Oh, we got all these women." You know what I mean? So like it makes sense that she would be you know, completely paralyzed with the idea of everything's gone, my brother's dead, all this stuff, and then like the fact that she's even doing some help is like more shocking than her not, I would say.
Yeah.
Because like, I feel like her like that's totally believable of just being so like, because in these in modern movies, like she would be talking and doing all this stuff, and like I think it's more realistic almost
They
that
would
she would
just
be just
be treating her
completely
like a man.
sitting there and just
But
like
when shit actually pops off, like of course there's badass chicks in every era. But when shit
yeah.
actually pops off, usually it's gonna be the guys taking the lead. And they're gonna usually tell the women to like go do some light work or do no work. And in the 60s, this is what would have been expected of women in movies, and less was expected of women in the 60s. So this is extremely normal and believable for her character, but she is being like she's getting in the way, and it almost seems like on purpose. Like she's almost like trying to sabotage things sometimes because she just wants, I don't know, some kind of attention or something. But eventually,
Well, the zombies. So like, well, like before he starts boarding up the windows, he goes out and kills like three, and then he sees them bash in the lights of the truck, which I thought was very like that was kind of shocking to me, like as someone, you know what I mean, like these zombies are smart enough to break the headlights, but like I said, it's the first one. So, but I thought that was just such an interesting, cool, but like also like as with all the future movies, like I'm like, oh, that's like an interesting thing where these guys are there's a truck here, and then the first things they do is grab a brick and break the window the headlights.
yeah,
But yeah, he
it's
killed like three of them.
something in their minds knows that this is a integral part of the vehicle and it's going to be more difficult for them to get anywhere with bashed in headlights. But he kills a few out there, and then he actually he burns one, and it's kind of funny because he just lights one match, and I don't think he uses any fluid or anything at this point.
No, he
And he
just like
just
sets it
one
on his
match,
shirt.
yeah, and he just
Yeah,
fucking erupts in flames.
yeah,
But as
yeah.
we'll learn in a minute, he already knew that they're afraid of the fire and stuff. And he also gets a chair. He makes a torch. I guess this is afterwards because first he's as he's busting up the table and removing the table legs, he starts telling his story of when he first encountered these things. And he was at a gas station diner, I believe. And
There was
he,
like a gas truck that was running like wild and getting chased.
yeah, and he said that there was a bunch of them hanging onto the truck and the thing skidded off the road and everything. And
Because he was trying to relate to her, being like, I'm also traumatized. Like,
yeah,
this is my story. Like I get it. Like I understand that you're doing this, but I'm like doing stuff and you're not. Like,
yeah, while he's telling this story, she goes over to the fucking chair, gets a little like tablecloth looking blanket,
doily.
just
They're
yeah,
called like doilies.
like a
And
doily
it's like,
tablecloth. I don't know why it was on the chair, but that's what I
yeah.
thought it was. And she just folds it up neatly into a little square and sits down on the couch and just like holds it here. And he's telling her the story. He's busting up the table to use the table, the big flat part and also the table legs as a weapon or a torch, as we'll see in a minute. And he's telling her about the gas station. The truck goes flying off the road. The truck explodes into flames. He turns back at the diner and realizes there's like 50 or 60 of them there. And so he just drives off in the truck, which apparently wasn't his.
He like found a truck there or whatever.
And he says that he's running him over. And the look on his face of shock and surprise of like they didn't get out of the way. Like he just hit them and they just bounced off like bugs. And, that seems real normal to us, but this is the first time we're hearing anything like this. So it is shocking, and it's really shocking to his character that this
Yeah.
kind of
And
thing would happen.
you could just tell from his reaction, like he's clearly like reliving this traumatic experience.
Hmm.
And then she says, well, this is what happened to me. And then she kind of goes into detail about all the, she
Really
brings up the
silly,
candy and
yeah, really silly little details because she's in such
yeah,
shock that she's just
right,
like
right.
doesn't even know how to really get her point across.
But then she gets so worked up and starts freaking out. And then she's like, well, oh my gosh, I gotta go get my
Yeah,
brother.
she
And then like
remembers
tries to
Johnny.
leave. And then he straight has to punch her, knocks her right out.
She
Just
gets up. She's worried about, she remembers Johnny and she's like, we have to go for Johnny. And he is like, no, you see what's going on out there. Like he's dead. He doesn't even say like anything. He just straight up tells her Johnny's dead. And she slaps him. And it's the silliest little weakest slap. It's like pop. Like her hand literally bounces back off. He doesn't flinch. And then he looks at her and he fucking hits her with the biggest right hook. Like he just uncorks on her. And I was like I remembered. I knew that she got hit because her character, like you want to slap some sense into her. But I thought it was just a slap. I thought it was a
no,
little
he had a
Sean
fist. It was a fist.
Connery, just a little schmack. But he
It
straight
was a fist.
fist knuckles punches her right in the jaw. And then in typical sort of old movie fashion, she like does this face where she like almost faints after, even though like you would just be unconscious. Like it wouldn't happen like that, but that's the way they portray it. And so he just has to knock her out to get her to shut up, calm down, and he has work to do. She's not going to do it, so we're done. And he knocks her out, picks her up and puts her on the couch. But then he's still being like a nice guy. She was talking about when she was telling her story. She's like, "It's really hot in here, isn't it?" And she's like sort of undoing her coat. And then so then he like spreads open her coat or whatever, and she's fully clothed underneath. It's nothing like that. But he's just trying to keep her cool there while he continues to do work. And this is where he takes the chair, he finds some lighter fluid, and he douses the chair, makes a little torch, wraps some fabric around the table leg, and goes outside and sets everything on fire, sets the chair on fire, and just sort of kicks it out in front of the porch to scare the zombies. Because that's when he's telling his story, he says, that's how I know that they're afraid of the fire. Because when the gas truck blew up, they didn't like that. They recoiled from that, even though when a speeding truck comes at them, they don't move.
Yeah, and then he turns on the radio,
Mhm.
and then that's when he like they find out that you need to stay inside, and they kind of just say, "Hey, stay put. There's a mass murders all around the country. Stay put." Like they don't say anything else. They don't really know anything
Yeah.
else,
At
but
this
that's just
point, they're
kind of what
talking
they're.
about mass murders, the assassins is what they're calling these things. So he's finishing up the work. He finally does, and he sits down to have a cigarette. And then he's smoking and he's still going around the house a little bit. We see like an ominous shot of a door that he hasn't gone into yet. He passes by that door, but the camera kind of zooms in on it. And he goes to the closet. He goes in there and still being a nice guy, even though he punched the shit out of that woman, he has noticed that she doesn't have shoes. And so the first thing he finds in there is a pair of women's shoes, and he kind of looks over his shoulder at her and he hangs onto those. He finds a gun and some ammunition. And so he goes back out there, and I believe at this time is when she's starting to wake up again.
Well, I think that she's like sitting down, and then because he's upstairs, he moves the body. That's when he finds the up and upstairs in the closet is where he finds the gun and the shoes, and then downstairs the door is opening, and then I think it's Harry or whatever the guy is comes out, and then she screams, and then he hears the scream and then goes downstairs, and that's kind of like how they all meet.
He does. Well, before he goes upstairs, he does go over. She's waking up. She has a bruise on her face now,
Oh
and
yeah,
and he hands her the shoes. She's comatose still, or well, by comatose I mean she is unresponsive again, and but she's awake, and he has to put the shoes on her, and then he just tells her, "I'm going upstairs." He goes, handles the body that's up there, just drags it into another room, and then Harry, I guess you said is I just call him the asshole because I don't
yeah.
remember his name, but
Harry
that's what he
Cooper is
is.
his name.
But he is an asshole, and that's his entire character for the duration of the movie, pretty much. And he busts out, scares the girl from the ominous door that we were looking at. That is the door down to the cellar. And so all the screaming, Ben comes back down, and now we have one of many arguments between Harry and Ben because Harry, he wants to be in control and he wants to tell everybody to get in the cellar. That's the safest place. And Ben is like, "No, I'm not going in there. That's a death trap. There's no place to run. That's not where we want to be. All the supplies, everything is up here." And Harry is even saying, "Well, we are going down there and we want supplies. Like, we're taking some of this stuff." And Ben is like, "Is this your house?" Because he says, "I have a right. We have a right to those supplies." And
Yeah.
Ben's like, "Is this your fucking house? Then shut up. You go downstairs. You be the boss down there. I'm the boss up here." And with
And there's another
Harry,
guy with Harry, Tom.
Tom, who is is really funny. Like he looks to
Yeah.
be, yeah, I don't know, maybe late
He's probably like
20s or
21, I would say. Like he seemed like
he
young.
seems like he could be anywhere from 20 to 30, but he acts like he's 15 years old. He acts like a real
Yeah.
wide-eyed kind of uh, young boy. And I say he's a little bit older because eventually we learn he has a wife, and they're kind of talking about some previous stuff that happened. So I don't know how long they've been married, but he comes out and he's kind of the middle ground, Tom. He's like the voice of reason. Ben and Harry are just arguing and they have the complete opposing opinions. But Tom is like, "Hey, like we might be safer up here, Harry. Like you don't know. The three of us," because again, like you were saying, they're kind of treating the women as if they don't exist, like they don't count. Because he's like, "The three of us could get this place boarded up and fixed up real good."
If we work together, things would be a lot. We'd be a lot safer. All three of us work together.
But Harry wants no part of that. and he's going to go back down into the cellar with his wife and child down there. But before he
I love how
does,
Tom though. Tom is just like, if you're gonna do that, I need to get my girlfriend Judy. Judy,
yeah,
come up. All right, now you can lock yourself in
yeah,
there.
you go ahead. And Tom brings his wife Judy, who is also very timid, very, like I said, it's not like there weren't badass women in this time, but this would have been more the way that women were especially portrayed in movies. And she's just very scared and doesn't, she's listening to what he says. He says, "We're coming up here. Sit with her." The woman, Barbara, I guess is her name, who I don't know at what point, I don't think it's from the punch, but she has a chipped tooth that I didn't realize she had until like halfway through the movie. So
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
I'm not sure if that was supposed to have happened after, being attacked in the graveyard or maybe from the punch. I don't quite remember, but she does seem to have a chipped tooth. But Judy comes up and she's at least a lot better. She's talking. She will do some stuff, although no heavy lifting.
Well, then a zombie breaks through the one of the windows and then like grabs Ben, and he's like fighting through it and he's like shooting it, and then like Tom comes over and grabs the knife that Judy has and she's like cutting the fingers off, dude. Did you see that hand that was just like all like slowly like cuts it off like it was putty? Like it was so
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, this scene is actually, they're using some of the cooler creepy music here. And they're
Yeah.
also doing some cool camera angles, just like looking through the slats of wood at the zombies, looking back in from the zombie perspective. And so Ben is there and they're fighting off the zombies and he shoots one. This is the first time anyone has shot a zombie. Shoots him in the chest and the zombie bounces back, and in the shadow of the trees, this is a cool shot as well. The zombie bounces back into the shadow of the trees and the leaves are kind of covering his face, and he just slowly kind of lifts his head right back up and comes forward again. And this happens a second time with a second shot in the chest, until the third time Ben shoots him in the head and the zombie goes down. So this would be the first instance, really, of the movie telling us, or our understanding, that zombies are killed by destroying the brain.
Yeah. But they don't realize that.
I don't think they realize that.
Or at least they don't address it
They don't
and then be
address
like,
it.
"Oh," like in a modern movie, they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, it got shot in the head and now it's dead, and I bet that's how you kill them." Like,
Yeah,
would have been like,
the way that it's brought up is through either the TV or the
yeah,
radio
later. Yeah, it's,
reports.
it's like later. Yeah,
So now the Harry guy we see him downstairs with his wife and his kid, and the little girl, she's like on this little, it's probably like a workbench or something in the cellar, and she's got like a bandage on her arm. She's asleep, or at least unresponsive, and her mom is down there looking after her. And Harry comes down and he's of course just pissed. He's being an asshole.
he's all fired up.
and and he's like, "Oh, there's people up there, blah blah blah." And his wife is a real cunt. Like, obviously he's an asshole and that's why she's a cunt,
That's
but
so funny you say that, because I thought the opposite. I thought that she was like the most like sane person out of the two, and when she was being like, "Oh, really? You didn't get your way?" Like she was just calling him out on all of his crap, like because
that's
he was
what I
clearly
mean.
like,
She's being a cunt. Not that he doesn't deserve it, not that he doesn't deserve to be talked to like that, but they're going head to head. Like, this is like they're
like
both
clearly
going
their
at it.
marriage is not doing well. Like she
Yeah.
was, she's like, yeah, I know you don't like to sleep in the same house as me, but that doesn't mean we should die together. Like I just like she's just totally just calling him out on all.
She's
It's
super
really
funny.
important to you that you're right, isn't it? Like, like I said, I think this was such a believable relationship, and like especially with the high intense stuff, like their argument, I thought was like this would happen. This is a timeless argument. Like everybody is having these arguments, like I think that that
Yeah,
was like I thought that was a
these are
great.
all the little quips that she has for everything he says. He's like, "Oh, there's people up there," and she's like, "Yes, we heard." And she's very like sarcastic and dry about it. She's not just like coming out and saying it all the time, but she is saying it. And then he's like, "Well, I didn't want to take any unnecessary chances." And she's like, "Of course not." And and what's the other one? You did say it. Oh yeah, he's like, then he starts smoking and he's like, "They'll see. They'll be begging me to come down here. They'll see I'm right." And she's like, "That's real important, isn't it? That you're right and they're wrong." And they're just going back and forth. And yeah, me saying that she's a cunt, like he deserves it, no doubt. But she's giving it to him, right? Like she's
Yeah. Oh
like,
yeah.
this is the way that she is handling him. And then she tells him like, "Yeah, maybe we don't like each other, but that doesn't mean that we need to die because of this." And then he mentions the radio. And then she perks up and she's like, "Wait a minute, there's a radio up there? Like we need to know what's going on. What if they're telling us what to do? What if there's sending a rescue team? This is important." And then Tom from upstairs yells down something about they found a TV. And now she's like, "Shit, a TV? Like now we need to go." And so she says, "Hey, if you will ask Judy to come down and watch my daughter, we'll come up and like see what's going on." And so they go up there. And again, the wife is like, he is just bitching. And he's like, "Look at these fucking boards. They could get in here so easy. This is a piece of shit. What are we doing up here?" And the wife is like, "Why don't you do something to help somebody?" Like she doesn't. She's like through her teeth. She's just continually saying these things. And the two guys, Ben and Tom, they come in with the TV and set it on the two chairs in the living room, and now everyone's watching the news report.
Well, it's funny because Harry like yells at, I think, was it Barbara? He yells at her. He's like, "You better pay attention." Like,
Yeah, I don't know why he
it's just so
yelled at
like
her.
random. I'm like, dude, get a fucking grip, man. Like shit.
They turn on the TV and he yells at the one woman that just, I mean, I guess she does need to be yelled at a little bit. She needs something. Apparently she needed a fist to the jaw. Our hero even decided that. But now they're watching the TV broadcast and we're learning a little bit more. Um, I believe at
They
this
talk about a
point,
satellite, the first satellite that goes to Venus,
but I think
and that
before
it,
that, there's already talking about these zombies or whatever they're calling them at this point are eating human flesh, and to burn the corpses, otherwise they will reanimate. We're learning more about what the zombies actually are, and then they start talking about not only we need to get to these rescue stations, but it may have something to do with great amounts of radiation from a satellite that went to Venus or whatever. And then we cut to this reporter. We're in this like big newsroom or whatever, getting these reports. And then we cut to on the street and in DC, because we can see some landmarks in the background. And the reporters are following these scientists and some military guy and grilling them about, "Oh, do you think this is the satellite or whatever?" And the scientists are like, "Yes, we definitely do." And the military guy's like, "No, I think we need more conclusive evidence." And it's just sort of this back and forth of nothing actually getting answered. But now this is probably, I would imagine, one of the more realistic and unsettling things of the movie for somebody of that time. Because to watch these crisis time news broadcasts and to see the on the street footage, like this would have been very current, and the satellite stuff as well. The moon landing was in 69, and so we would have already had satellites in space. We would have had a man go into space, although not to the moon yet. We would have been sending monkeys to space. This all would have been very current stuff. And in 63, JFK was assassinated. In 65, Malcolm X was assassinated. In 68, the year the movie came out, Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy were assassinated. And in 1970, Ruben Salazar was assassinated. So all these sort of news broadcast things, this would have been something that you would have been sitting down with your family. Everybody would have been worried in the house. This is exactly what people would have been doing, is being glued to the set or the radio while these crisis bulletins were coming in. And it would have been permeating. And now, from this point on, the radio and the TV, the sounds are starting to just permeate in the background. And even when characters are talking, you can still hear that stuff in the background and gather a little more information if you want to listen for it. And that's the way that it would have been at the time. People would have been, one person would have been just watching it nonstop, but the sound of it would have been going through the house at all times. And so I would think that all of this would be very unsettling to the kind of people who, when JFK died and people just had their TVs on or their radios on nonstop, just listening to the crisis reports and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I feel like and then they also were like, we'll be back like later, like they'll say, hey, we'll be back at like 3 or whatever for like another broadcast. But then, yeah, I think in the earlier thing too, they mentioned, like in the earlier radio thing, they mentioned that they're like, the White House is going to be meeting with some top scientists. And then like that was like way earlier. And so this is kind of like the follow up with that, which was cool that they like, what's interesting about the timing of all this, like I feel like, which is something that is so cool that wouldn't happen now because the world is just so connected that like when someone is interviewing a politician or whoever, there's no way nowadays that they would give any information. Like they wouldn't, you know what I mean? Like they would just be like, well, we have no idea what you're talking about. No, they would just completely deny everything. And so like watching something like this, where one of the guys at least is like, oh yeah, so we talked to this person and this is what we think it is, and blah blah. Like them like being so forward with information was like of that time, because like that's not going to happen at all now.
They're
like,
not
no
even
way that anything
thinking
would happen
like we
that.
should protect people by not telling them or any of that. Like the stuff is just coming out of their mouth because they're not even used to this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
All of us are used to it.
Scared, probably.
All of us are used to it because everyone just is like filming shit with their phones at all times, And also going back to what I was saying, you could even relate that sort of sitting with the news on to 9/11. Like anyone who is, 20, well, I guess you would have to be older than that, be like 30 or older, would remember that. And I remember when I woke up and turned on the TV, and nowadays you would like your phone would be blown up about something. But I woke up at like 6 in the morning or whatever, getting ready for school, and it was on TV, the 9/11 shit. I got in the car. I didn't even know what was going on. I got in the car. I was carpooling with a friend of mine. I wasn't driving yet, and his dad had it on the radio when we got to school. And then he sat there with us until school started so that we could continue to listen and see what was going on. And then you got into class, and it was on the TV in the classroom. And I remember I sat next to a girl who, she was like, my aunt works in the World Trade Centers. And at a certain point, the teacher was like, okay, we got to start class. And so he goes to turn off the TV. And the girl like grabbed me and was like, tell him not to turn off the TV, because her aunt was working in the World Trade Centers. And so my personality, I like raised my hand to be like, oh, excuse, sir, like, can you please not turn off the TV? And so he left it on or whatever with like subtitles. But just the understanding of that, and like hanging within it's like a weightless feeling when you're sitting there waiting on a news story to happen or like something to happen beyond the event. You know what I mean? Like these people are, especially the mother who shit talks I don't remember her name at all either, but the dude or the woman who's shit talking Harry
I
all the
think her name is
time, his
Helen.
wife, Helen.
Helen is the wife of Harry.
She especially seems like that kind of woman who is like, she's about the TV. She heard there was a radio and a TV, and she's like, fuck all this. We need to go up there now. And she's the one later, I'm pretty sure, who brings up, hey, there's going to be another broadcast at 3, right? We need to turn that on.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So then after all that, they get all this information and then they kind of figure out, oh, hey, that one location, what is it, like Wallins or something, is like that's
Willard, I
only
believe.
like 17 miles or whatever. And then they kind of re-talk about getting, getting the truck fueled.
Tom and Judy apparently are from the area,
Yeah.
and now they're making a plan.
Ben is coming up with this plan like a boss, and like he has taken control of this situation like any main character would. He's just like, "Well, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. You do this. You do that." Like, and then like I think what is it? Judy goes and starts ripping up sheets, and then they
Yeah,
kind
to
of
make
decide
Molotov
that like
cocktails.
Tom is gonna go with because Ben doesn't feel comfortable driving, and so they like all like assign little jobs. Harry is gonna throw Molotovs, and they like all kind of figure out what the deal is, and they're like kind of waiting for all that stuff to kind of come into play.
Mm-hmm. So they make their whole plan. Um, I still think that the Barbara woman is not doing anything. She's just kind of sitting on the couch. But
Yeah, she's like playing with that doily again.
oh yeah,
She's just
she's
laying
laying
on the
on
couch,
her stomach, just like fucking
like
around with the
fidgeting.
doily like
Yeah.
this. And even the Helen woman looks at her and is like, "What the fuck is wrong with this bitch?"
You know what she did too during that scene when Helen is just sitting there, she lights a cigarette, and the way that the Barbara looks, like I thought she was gonna turn because her like reaction to the fire. Because the second that the match went out, she just went back to fidgeting with the thing. Did you notice that scene? Like that, like
Yeah,
really interesting.
she had a
Like I
weird
was just like, what's that about?
there was a weird thing going on there, but I guess it was just part of her being weird.
Her like weird, yeah.
And so now we get a little scene of Tom going into the room with his wife Judy, and she's in there tearing up the sheets, and she smiles at him when he comes in, and he's just like, "Oh, you always have a smile for me. Like I don't know how you do it." And but then he's also trying to get her in gear because he goes, "Let's see how much you've done," and she hasn't done very much. And they're trying to make the Molotov cocktails. She hasn't done enough work, and he's like, "Hey, you gotta speed this up. You know, we're doing this plan. We're in this situation." And she starts kind of freaking out a little bit, not like the other woman, but she's saying, you know, "Do we really have to go? We're safe here, and like I don't want you to go."
Yeah, why do you have to go out there?
And Tom explains to her very gently. Tom is a super, super nice guy. And
Yeah, yeah.
he's, even when he's telling her, like, hey, you need to do more, but he's telling her, like, you remember when there was that flood and you didn't want to leave the house, but we ended up leaving and you know that it was the right thing to do. Like he gives her another scenario. She again says, like, yeah, but why does it have to be you? And he says, because I'm a man and I got to do a
Well, no,
man's job. Well,
but
he says,
he
I know
says
how to
because
drive the
Ben doesn't
truck.
feel comfortable with the truck because
He
Ben
says that,
sometimes
but
says something about like that.
essentially it's like, hey, I have to pull my weight here. Like this
Well,
is
even he like playfully says, "You're worthless, but I love you." And he like,
yeah.
it's like like it's just so like funny because he clearly like knows how to handle her. You know what I mean? Like like that in every way, like a husband would with a wife, and like
Mhm.
their dynamic is kind of charming in a way, their relationship, and like even she is like with that like awkward kiss. You know what I mean? Like that whole scene was like a sweet scene
Yeah, I think I remember it even having like some sweet sounding music in there.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so after that, we're pretty much ready to now carry out the plan. And Ben and Tom get to the door. Harry goes upstairs with his Molotovs, and we're kind of expecting Harry to fuck up or do something stupid.
yeah.
But he is going along with the plan. He starts throwing the Molotovs. There's the music that I feel doesn't work that well, that's a little too old fashioned. Every time a Molotov lands outside, there's that like dramatic sting, and the zombies are all like they really don't like fire, and it's funny the way that they recoil from the fire like lazy moaning zombies. So he tosses the Molotovs. We go downstairs with Tom and Ben, and they're prying off the door. He says like good luck or whatever, and so they're prying the boards off the door. And just as he's about to leave, Tom turns back, and Judy is back there, and she gives him another smile, just like we mentioned before.
Yep.
And I really love that,
Yeah,
because
for
a
sure.
lot of women, I don't think a lot of women really understand that this is a superpower of theirs, to be able to, and I'm not saying it's the only superpower, but to be able to motivate and inspire men to be greater, just to be better than they are. Just like in Orca, where the man has to go out and face the whale the next morning, and the woman calls him into bed and says, "Come, I'll warm you." It's the same sort of thing. You're giving your man, you're telling him that you believe in him. You're giving him confidence. You're giving him something to fight for, to live and die for. In the moment of truth, a man is going to be thinking about his woman. And so I think this is a really, really great little scene. It's just a tiny little smile, and he smiles back. But it's a superpower that women
Yeah,
possess. That's why they say behind every great man is a great woman. And you
yeah,
contrast this to the way that the other woman, who I like her, I like Helen, I think she's funny, but she's picking at her man at all times. She's just picking and picking and picking, and maybe that's not the way to go about it. Of course, the way that he treats her is not the way to go about it either, but there's a stark contrast between this is how this woman treats her man, and he's the brave dude going out to do the shit. And this is how this woman treats her man, and he's a fucking coward.
that smile, like, it was just such a great, like, follow-up to the scene prior of,
Mhm.
like, them having that magical moment and them talking about the smile, like, just that whole, like, the way that all seamlessly just kind of went together, it was just such a great thing, and but yeah, so they go out, and then, like, I don't understand why this girl, like, I mean, I get it, I guess, but Judy runs out, like, they're, like, out there messing with the truck, like, I don't understand what they're waiting for, like, he's sitting in the truck idle,
Yeah,
like, is he
and
warming it up? Like, what is, like,
I
going
don't
on
know.
where
It didn't sound like
Ben
he
is,
was
like, fighting
cranking it or
zombies off?
anything.
Yeah, and then there's enough time for her to run out, Ben be like, "Oh, well, if you're out here, get in." You know, like,
Yeah,
all this, like, how are there
but
not like,
before she
"What
even
the
gets
fuck
to
are
the
you
truck,
doing?"
she sprints to the door. And
Yeah,
Harry actually tells her, "Get back in the fucking cellar." And she says,
yeah,
"No, I'm going with him." And so she runs outside. And as soon as she gets on the porch, Harry slams the door and locks it. He doesn't give
yep,
her a second chance or anything. It's very fast how quickly he just says, "Fine, you go out there, you die, whatever." He slams the door. And then it's like you said, it's really strange how much time they spend out here dicking around. They're
yeah.
both, even by the time the Tom and Judy are both in the truck, Ben is not in the truck. He's just standing
He's
outside the
just
truck
standing
still.
there.
He's got his chair leg torch and the gun, but he's not, it's like he's not in any hurry. But
No.
eventually they do get moving, and they're like, the zombies are grabbing on and they're dragging the zombies as they're backing up and everything. And then they're driving like 2 miles an hour, which I would also be like, come on, guys, let's step
Yeah.
on it. Let's go. But
That
they're
truck goes faster.
yeah.
Like
They finally get to the pump and he can't get the key to work on the gas pump. And so Ben shoots it. And I
which is
assume,
crazy.
yeah, it from at least get close enough that you're not gonna
Yeah.
stray. The shot's not gonna stray, but apparently it does. I assume that's why now the gas pump is just leaking like crazy. Because as soon as Tom takes it off the thing, it's spraying everywhere. He gets it on the truck. There's the torch fire that Ben had to set the torch down on the ground in order to go and then shoot the lock off the gas pump. So the gasoline is now started a fire. It's running towards the pump. It's on the truck. And Tom's immediate reaction is he's like, we got to get the truck away from the pump. And so he jumps in the truck, drives it off. I think they could have just they put out the fire. Ben
Yeah.
takes some blanket or something and starts stomping out the trail of fire that's going to the pump, which probably more important that they have the truck than the gas. If you have gas,
But the
you
truck
got
was already on fire. But yeah, I mean, it's like the fact that they even get in the truck, like they should have just all walked away from that
they
situation.
probably should
Like
have
I
just
don't know.
ran or just tried to put out the fire really fast or something.
Yeah, yeah,
But they
yeah.
don't. Tom takes off in the truck, and as he jumps out, Judy says that she's caught. Her jacket is caught. And so he goes back to get her, and the fucking truck just explodes on them.
That scene with Harry, like looking out the window, like how you see and it lights up, like that was rad.
Yeah. Ben is out there looking at it like, God damn. And Harry is looking out the window, watching that explode. And you can kind of tell in Harry's expression, he's like, it's over. It's over now. Like this, they're, he probably thinks they're all dead at this point. They don't have the truck. There's a huge fire going on out there. But Ben is still alive. And he fights his way back to the house. But Harry has the door still locked. And Harry's peeking out of the cellar as Ben is pounding on the door to let him in. And Harry's like hesitating, like he's not going, he's not leaving. And I don't even think that it's like a personal thing, really. I mean, it might sort of be,
It
but it
seems like I
seems
thought it
that
was.
he's just
He seemed to be
afraid.
like, even the look on his face seemed like it was personal.
I don't think so. I thought the look on his face was of cowardice and fear that he didn't want to go to the door. But he eventually, well, Ben kicks the door down, and then Harry eventually goes and helps him board it back up. But at this point, the damage is done, and once they get it boarded up, Ben starts beating the shit out of him,
So I'm gonna feed you to those zombies.
kicking his ass all the way across the room, and eventually just tells him, like, I ought to take you outside and feed you to those things. And we just see this look of guilt and shame on Harry's face with like his bloody nose or whatever.
And then there's that scene, which is awesome, of all the zombies eating Tom and Judy.
Yeah, now we go back out to the truck.
Dude, yeah, because like Ben's like looking out the window and he just sees it and like, oh, dude, the like liver and all that that scene was just well shot, dude, with all the like bits and bobs of all them
Mhm.
and
And
like
again, we're
clearly they
getting
like their
the
food.
cool, creepy ambient music for this scene,
Yeah,
which is really cool and creepy. The zombies are just feasting on this roasted flesh. And even in 4K, I was watching black and white, but in the 4K version. And when you're looking into the truck at the roasted bodies, it's very, very dark, but you can see a tiny bit of sort of outline that kind of looks like a skull that's been, or like a melted face or something. It's very,
yeah.
very vague, even in 4K, but it's still very cool and creepy. Then we're looking around at all the zombies eating their parts. the funniest one, there's two women out there that literally just have a big turkey drumstick and they're
Yep.
just eating that. One dude, the liver pieces, some of the pieces do look like raw meat. And I'm like, what the fuck
Oh
is
yeah.
this stuff?
Yeah, dude,
One
it
dude is
looks
just
rough.
licking an arm. He just licks an arm and like
Yeah.
some skin peels off. It's really, really funny, that scene.
Yeah,
But
it was great.
also really creepy. Like I'm laughing
Oh,
because
absolutely.
mostly the turkey legs is what I thought were funny because
Yeah.
it
Like
just
this is when like I realized that this was like a horror movie. Like obviously I'm like, I'm not like a big horror dude, but like they call this one of the, a horror movie and I'm like, "Oh, well this is where the horror comes in where there's just like, oh, it's just all like grotesque and just like
mhm.
it
The
was awesome."
movie from this point on, I think really like this is the A plus part of the movie from
Oh,
here
for
on.
sure.
The
Yeah.
creepy part, like I said, the music is really good during that scene. The visuals are really good. The just the looks on the people's faces. It's like they've kind of gotten into the thing of being a zombie. They've been doing it for a while. They've been watching each other act this stuff, and now they're really getting creepy with it. And now we're back at the house, and
Well, no, this is when they talk about this is when they say the next TV. This is at
mm,
3. They're like, "Hey, the next TV, like what are we going to do? The next TV thing is at 3." And then they're like and then the Barbara girl is just like, "Oh, well, we have to wait that long or whatever." Like she talks about like that's 10 minutes, and then this is the scene where they like talk about shooting him in the head. That's how they kill him and then that's like where all this stuff is like.
we also see I'll call them like the Ghoul Squad or the Ghoul Patrol.
Yeah.
We see these like sort of vigilante farmer dudes, um,
Pretty much
some
just like
cops
the
as
men
well,
of the cities with guns.
but yeah, but all these dudes with guns, and they're going out to hunt these ghouls, and they're all just really kind of disorganized, and they don't seem to have the best guy as the leader. He doesn't
Yeah.
quite seem as charismatic and commanding as maybe he should
Yeah.
need to be, but he's got bullets. He's strapped with fucking. He's got a bandolier of bullets.
And this is where he says they're slow, shoot them in the head. And like, like this is where you're like hearing the hey, they don't run kind of thing. Like that's like where you would get that from, even though obviously he doesn't know that first zombie. But yeah, that's like they mention that in this scene.
Hmm.
Yeah. Then I think the lights go out. And then that's really when like, oh shit,
Yeah, the
things
lights
are
go
fucking
out. The Harry extremely loudly as Ben leaves the room. He's like, "I gotta get that gun," and I'm like, "Dude, everybody fucking heard you, dude. What the fuck are you
yeah,
talking about?"
dude.
And
Even Helen's like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, she's so like,
yeah, she's like, "Haven't you done enough? Like, haven't you had enough?" And I do prefer actually that these movies from a certain period are a little bit more accurate, and we know what Harry wanted to call Ben. Like it wasn't in
yeah,
the movie, that's my rule, so I'm not going to say it, but we know what Harry wanted to call him. They didn't put that, but we get that picture anyways. And Harry comes back in the room. The zombie or Ben comes back in the room. The zombies are breaking through the window. He runs to go barricade the door. He's got the gun and he's like holding it up.
it's funny because Harry is just standing there watching him like struggle.
Yeah. And there he's even yelling at him because he's the only
Yeah,
guy left. So I would assume that that's who he's talking to come help. And eventually he Ben drops the gun. And that's when Harry makes his move for the gun. Dives on the gun instead of helping anybody, like his wife is bitching at him to do. He just goes for the fucking gun, and now they're fighting over the gun. Ben hits him with a board and eventually gets the gun back from him, and then just immediately fucking cocks it and just shoots him in the chest right in
yep,
front of his wife, right in front of everyone. And I
yeah,
think even his wife is just like, even though she's in shock, she's just like, he was asking for it. Like that, I don't, I'm
yeah.
not going to protest. And so Harry, he stumbles down the steps to the cellar and he's dying. We can see this. And with his last dying strength, he reaches his hand up above his daughter there on the table asleep, and he's like, and just collapses. It's a pretty funny,
Yeah,
old
it
fashioned
is.
death in a movie, but we understand the this is the dramatic way they chose to portray it.
Yeah.
And now back upstairs, they're still trying to keep the zombies back. Helen is at the door, holding it holding it up, but she's
She like
getting
held it.
grabbed. And now Barbara, for the first time, jumps up and goes to help Helen. And we see this really as almost sacrificing herself
Yeah.
because she's not really intelligently doing anything. She just sees that Helen needs help and immediately, or after a second, jumps up and does help her. Helen gets
And
away.
gets her loose. Yeah, gets her loose.
And now Helen stumbles down into the cellar. And now this is maybe the coolest fucking scene in the movie. I might say that one
Oh
more
yeah.
time. But we go down the steps, and this is like a modern horror movie shot now of the
Yeah.
little girl in her dress and her fucked up hair with blood all over her mouth, just munching on a piece of her dad. And her dad is laying on the ground with his eyes wide open and his mouth slack and his arm torn off. And the little girl is just munching, and she sees her mom, and she slowly sets the hand down, and her mom doesn't believe it. Her
She's
mom
like, my
is,
baby, my baby.
yeah, she says, poor baby. And she's backing up as the little girl gets closer and closer, and just saying the weirdest, stuff about her little baby. And the little girl, and this is another thing with the fresher zombies. This little girl grabs a gardening spade and with both hands starts stabbing the shit out of her mom, just over the head, just stab down. Her mom has fallen down on the ground and is still screaming no. And the
Did you hear
music is
the
so
music and then the
fucking weird.
echo in that scream? It was like they
Yeah,
put like an effect on the scream, which was just crazy.
they start putting effects. The sound of the murder is so intense and so
Yeah.
creepy and probably so unlike anything that has come before it. They saved all their big guns when it comes to the sound effects for this. It's so weird. They're using effects on the voice. They're using the strangest warbling kind of echoing music everywhere.
It was interesting.
And
In the captions, it said children screaming as the captions, like as if like it wasn't her screaming, it was like a child. Like I don't know if that's like what the effect was, but I just thought that was interesting, like how much the captions have said that the movie doesn't say anything, like it was just weird that it said like children screaming, like that was the sound effect, like after like when it like pans away from her screaming and the echo. It was just, yeah, such a great thing.
it's so great. There's the child stabbing her mother over and over, the convulsions of the mother as she's being stabbed, the blood everywhere, and then the shadow of the little girl raising the spade up and doing it with the blood dripping down the wall. It's a very, very modern shot. Like you could take that
Yeah.
scene and put it in a modern movie, and it would be the best scene in the fucking movie too. And I think Helen's performance of being killed, I think she's the best pure actor in the movie. Like she
Yeah.
does an incredible job of selling her death here, as opposed
When
to
her
fucking Harry who just goes
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
immediate like collapse.
Yeah. I was kind of disappointed because when I watched this movie, I watched it on HBO Max or whatever, and like I don't know about the cover, like what the cover is. But like it showed like there's that famous girl with the blood on her face. Like you see the Karen, so I mean, obviously you kind of knew that she was going to be a zombie, but like I
Mhm.
already knew that this was coming, which I feel like, man, if I didn't know that, like it would have
Yeah.
been so much. I mean, obviously we knew from her getting bit and like them talking about her getting bit by the zombie, like
But through the
obviously
course of the
us knowing about
movie,
zombies.
that information is relayed really slowly. Like the
Yeah,
parents at first, they
yeah,
don't say. Like they are asked what's wrong with the little girl, but they don't say. And then it eventually comes out, and then Ben's eventually is like, "Hey, well, we don't know what kind of disease those things have."
yeah,
And they know that when somebody dies, that they turn. They don't it's not like a you get infected with a bite and then you turn like before you die kind of situation, I don't think.
right,
But
right.
but yeah, to sort of have that spoiled is a little silly because there's
A little
there's
bit.
a real cover. There's a real movie poster to that HBO could have used that wouldn't have spoiled anything. So to just take
Yeah,
the most vivid scene from the movie and put
yeah,
it
yeah,
there is fucked.
yeah. But with that said, it still was an amazing scene, and it didn't take away from that scene. Like because I was just expecting that, and so I was like a little bit, but like, dude, it was such a great scene.
Mhm. And so now everyone is dead in the basement.
Yeah, it's
Well, except the
Barbara
little
up
girl
front, like, and Ben, and Barbara is like still like getting captured, and eventually they break in, and then
and
the
right
zombies are
outside
in,
is Johnny.
and then,
Johnny is
dude,
there with
the
his glove.
glove on the freaking like doorway, dude. I was just like, yes, like that was so funny, and the fact that Johnny was the one that killed Barbara was really the like she that like the look on her face when it was him, like
Mhm.
she just gave up and she's like, all
Yeah.
right, but like still screaming, like
Because I felt like she was sacrificing herself in a sense to save Helen. But then when she sees Johnny, she almost like is like there's the two things of being afraid and being like it's Johnny. Like this is what I've
yeah,
been I'm always she's been bringing him up the entire fucking movie. We got to get Johnny. Johnny has the keys, on and on. And here he is and she hesitates and then sort of just lets him grab her and he takes her and just sort of carries her off into the horde of zombies
yeah.
and now Ben is the only one left.
He's like backing up to the cellar and like in like what am I gonna do kind of thing,
I
and then
believe that the little
Karen,
girl comes up. Yeah.
the girl, yeah, now Karen is coming up behind him and tries to bite his arm, and he like, I love how he just like picks her up and just throws her on the couch, kind of like, which is like funny because it's just a kid, so like you can just do that, and then he retreats into the cellar.
And this is another really powerful, creepy scene, I think, where it's dark in the cellar and he's boarding it up, and we're just seeing the door just shaking off its hinges, and we're
And you
wondering
see
if
the
it's
zombies
just
out
going.
there too.
Mm.
Just the sheer amount of them just like pounding against. Some of the zombies have the table leg and it's like pounding it on the ground.
Yeah,
Like
the
they're just
one
like,
lady is just pounding it on the ground as if like it's some ritual thing for her, or
yeah,
she's like she knows that he's down there and she's like, yeah, this is gonna fucking scare his
yeah, this is
ass.
gonna get him. We're gonna get this guy. Like whether we scare him to death or we kill him. Like
And
yeah, it was so
we
funny.
haven't really mentioned, but that the very first zombie, he's coming back all the time. We see him all the
Yeah,
time, and he's one of the ones at the door now. He actually has a weapon. He like drags a weapon in as well, and
yeah,
he's
yeah.
swinging it at the door. And on the inside, we're looking at Ben um, kneeled there at the top of the steps, and the door seems like it's going to rattle off the hinges. We don't know if it is. But as we go downstairs, he sees Harry. And now this time it is personal because as Harry starts to rise as a zombie, he shoots that fucker 3 times. He doesn't have to shoot him 3 times. He's
Yep.
got limited ammo down there, but he gives it to him 3 times. And then he turns and sees Helen start to
Dude, the
rise.
silhouette of her like dead body, like, oh, so awesome.
Yeah,
So
the
like,
shots down
like
here in the
what a
cellar
whew.
are really cool. And he shoots her once. And now you can tell he didn't really like having to shoot her. He knows that everything is fucked. And now he's down here. Everyone's dead. He had to finish them off. He actually throws the gun away. He just throws it to the ground in frustration. Eventually picks it back up because the zombies are still banging around out there, and just kneels there in the chaos outside, holding his gun and just sort of looking up.
Just waiting to have him kill him, like, because that's
Or
essentially what he's expecting.
just waiting for his last stand. And however
Yeah,
that's going to play out for him, he seems to have accepted that, but he's also shaking and terrified at the prospect.
yeah.
And then we just fade out and reappear in the morning. And the birds are chirping. The zombies don't appear to be at the house anymore. Clear skies and everything. And the ghoul patrol is now coming.
Yeah, dude.
And the helicopter rolls in, and that same sort of not a great leader to have kind of guy comes in with his bandolier, and he's ordering everyone around. And Ben is down there in the basement, and he has survived. And he hears them up there. He hears the shots. He hears them finishing off the zombies, dogs barking. And we are apprehensive. We are watching this, and we are much more apprehensive of the situation than apparently Ben is, because we're thinking like, stay here for now. Like,
Yeah.
let them finish that off. You don't want to get caught in that crossfire. Stay here. But he doesn't. He opens the door, and he's out there with his gun. He's creeping up to the window, and these guys are coming. And some guy says, "Hey, I heard something in there. There's one left." And they see Ben coming to the window, and that guy out there immediately just takes a shot, bang. And the other guy goes, "Yeah, right between the eyes. You got him. Another one for the fire, boys." And now again, this is like such a creepy modern scene. This is like maybe the creepiest thing in the whole movie. It's not the best scene. The scene with the little girl is the best scene. But
Yeah.
now to watch the story be
Dude,
told through these
so
grainy
cool.
photographs with
With
these
all these, like,
men
meat
with their
hooks.
fucking meat hooks, and
Yeah.
it's just weird angles and super grainy, and we're looking at all this shit, and they're stabbing Ben and dragging him, and it's not even frame by frame. It's just like these random scattered shots of what's happening. And
So good.
they take Ben out. We're seeing the pile of zombies. We're seeing them create with all the wood, the fire, and they lay Ben right next to the very first zombie. And we
Yeah.
see their faces next to each other. And the bullet hole in Ben right between his eyes, after all this that he's been through. This is his end. And it's actually quite shocking that this is
Yeah.
after the sort of Andy Griffith show intro, the beginning parts, and like the Tom character who's really like, 50s sitcom guy. He's just too nice. Some of the stuff that's happening in this movie. And then it really, really becomes a horror film up until the end, and it gets even creepier with these shots. And then it goes from the still photographs back to film. Oh, and with the still photographs as well, we're getting creepy music and the chatter of the ghoul patrol. Like all these guys talking, still the dogs barking, set them on the fire, drag this one over here, like all this weird shit. While we feel like we're looking at weird images of like a concentration camp or something. Like it's so strange and gruesome and creepy. And then at the very
Yeah.
end, it changes from these still photographs to film again as the fire starts. And we just watch the blaze of bodies burning right through to the end.
Yeah. What an amazing, and like I'm not like a big movie buff, so I don't really know, but like I feel like nowadays a lot of movies have those like post credits or like during credits scenes, and this is like this. I mean I don't know if they've been here before, but like that's what this was giving. Like it was like this is one of those like right as the credits roll, you're seeing all this like these like all these like still frames and all this stuff. Like this is like this reminded me of modern movies. Like I was like I was shocked that this was like the way that they shot this end. Just and so I was like, man, like was this one of the first movies to do that? Like how did like it was just I just thought that was just super rad and was curious if any other movies had done that at this time. But I mean, I don't know.
I don't know, not probably not to this level. It was quite
Yeah,
shocking and like I said, extremely modern. Like we both said, this the last half of the movie, the girl scene,
so
and then
good.
that was two of the coolest things that I've ever seen in a movie. And I was
Yeah.
not expecting to see that after the first half of the movie. So it was really, really cool.
So good, dude. What a great movie. I was so like I know you when before we did this, like you said this was one of your S plus movies or whatever, and like and so I like had a good expectations, like because I obviously I knew, but like I was always worried, I always get worried watching all these older movies, thinking that I'm like a modern dude who doesn't I don't watch a lot of older movies, but like every movie that we've been watching with this and just in general, like I have just loved like it was just such a great movie. I was so stoked about it. It was awesome.
Yeah, I think it really lives up to what it's supposed to be as
Yeah.
the grandfather or the godfather or whatever of zombie films. And and really like I said about the cultural shift at the time. I almost feel like the movie goes through a cultural shift. It starts like kind of hokey and kind of Andy Griffith and shit. And then it becomes very dark and very gruesome and very artistic and modern in a way
Yeah.
that I've never seen a movie do before this
Yeah.
that I've seen.
Yeah. So good. So good. So do you want to go through your favorite performance?
Well, my favorite actor, I think, is just Helen. I think she's the best actor. I think she's the best
Yeah.
pure actor. She has the funniest lines. Um, and
You believe
her,
her when she is being
mhm,
that like, bitchy wife. Like you believe that like you believe that relationship with her being
mhm.
like talkative, whether the world is over or not, like and she's just like talking shit, like that shit would she would be like that whether the world was ending or not. Like
Yeah. And you
it's like
almost feel like she has spent 20 years in real life dealing with an asshole like Harry.
yeah,
Like she's
right.
so good at it.
Like
And
I almost
then
feel like Judy and Tom were them as a kids and then they grew up to be that. You know what I mean? Like that's my thought. Like I feel like they would, you know what I mean? Like they grew to be like that kind of.
yeah, well, that sort of thing would happen at,
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
in the day because people
Right,
did
right.
feel more like they were stuck with one another. They got
Yeah.
married at a young age, they had a kid, and now they're stuck together. And then over the years, they grow bitter and then they're just butting heads all the time.
Yeah.
But also with Helen, her death was so gruesome and intense, and even
Yeah.
if it wasn't particularly gruesome, it was just so vivid what her
Yeah.
acting and along with the soundtrack and everything that was going on.
You just
It
believe that
was
yeah. And the fact that it was her daughter, like, it was so good. It was just so good. Yeah. I mean, as far as I mean, obviously that I completely agree with Helen and that whole thing. I mean, Ben was great. You know what I mean? Ben, like
Ben was
like
solid, yeah.
you he was just, a great character and he like, like everything, like his performance was great. I mean, it's all like I even Barbara to a certain extent. Like I know she kind of sucked because she was so, but like I believed that. I believed that she was so
Mhm.
like catatonic, and like when she the very few times that she would snap out of it and help and then go back into it, like it was believable that
Yeah.
she was like
She
that.
had a
And like
lot of
and whether
weird layers to her. Like when they start
yeah,
talking about the 3 a.m. thing, she's like, she perks up in this really weird way about now we can leave. It's only 10 minutes. And with Ben, like he was pretty solid and level, but when he had a good line to deliver, like you go
He did
down
it
to the
well.
basement, you can be the boss down there, but I'm the boss up here. Like when he had a good line to deliver, he delivered it very, very
Oh
well.
yeah. Absolutely. Well, and back to Barbara, like there was a scene, I don't think we brought it up, but like when before they were going to like before they were gonna execute their plan to go outside and get gas, like they're trying to convince Barbara to go downstairs. And then like Ben has to be like, hey, go downstairs, go down. No one, she's not moving. And she's like, we have to go down there so we can leave. And then she like pops up, leave. I want to leave. And then she gets up and goes downstairs. Like that kind of scene where like her like whole she's clearly like so aloof until she
Hmm.
needs to be not aloof or whatever. Like I don't know, like I thought those two were really really cool characters.
Hmm. She needs something to like snap her out of it. And when she does,
Yeah,
like I said, she has a lot of layers to her acting, even if
yeah,
you don't like her character, because you're kind of just like, come on, like wake up, like do something. But but her ability to portray that is very accurate.